Love him or hate him, nothing makes a piece of literature complete without a memorable villain. And today, we will be looking at the top 5 Marvel villains to grace our presence in the ever-expanding Marvel Universe. Welcome to A Marvelous Life. I'm Nashology, and today we are combing the depths of Marvel hell to find the most significant, culturally impactful, and resonant supervillains that have left their remarkable stain on our favorite universe. Whether it's the MCU or the comics, the distinction between an epic saga and a terrible piece of shit can often be pinpointed to the strength of the villain, not just physically, but motivationally. In the comics, we have Gore the God Butcher, a character defined by tragedy. After losing his entire family, his entire species, and his entire world, Gore becomes recklessly disillusioned by the concept of gods. So much so that he makes it his personal journey to protect the rest of the universe from their failings as life's protectors. Expertly written, Gore provided Thor with the tools for character development that we really haven't seen since the 1980s. In contrast to this, let's have a look at the MCU. Ronan the Accuser, one of the most badass off-Earth characters in the comics, was relegated to a pathetically one-dimensional, weakly driven, power-hungry waste of space found in the MCU. Yeah, Ronan was completely wasted. But thankfully, the Guardians of the Galaxy themselves were written so wonderfully, it didn't seem to matter. Thus, as you can see, the concept of the villain is just as important as the hero. And for a work to truly transcend, just write a damn good villain. Let's jump into the top 5 Marvel villains produced by Marvel Comics, starting with a villain whose ambitions are as wide as the universe itself.
Number 5. Thanos.
Starting off with the Mad Titan himself. Who would have thought 10 years ago the world would be completely menaced by a giant purple guy with a butt chin? Well, it happened, and the Marvel Universe has never been the same since. The origins of Thanos date all the way back to 1973, gracing the pages of the invincible Iron Man. Created by comic book godfather Jim Starlin, the Mad Titan quickly established himself as a formidable presence in the Marvel Universe. And yep, he flew around in a little yellow helicopter. Thank God Feige left that one off the big screen. So, what makes Thanos a unique villain? Born on Titan, Thanos belongs to a race of beings known as the Eternals, the very same ones that everyone has come to love. However, due to having a deviant gene, his distinct appearance sets him apart from the other Eternals. Obsessed with nihilism and a growing disdain for most living beings, Thanos becomes oddly enamored with the cosmic embodiment of death. In fact, he loves death so much, he swears to kill half the universe in her honor. This leads Thanos down a never-ending path of universal destruction, with Thanos' obsession frequently having him search for the Infinity Stones, just like he did in the MCU. He's a well-written villain due to his strange motivations. He's not simply seeking to conquer and destroy, he's guided by a twisted philosophy and a genuine belief in the righteousness of his cause. His deep-seated philosophical beliefs have him kill in the name of love, giving the Mad Titan layers that, well, many other villains lack. Various storylines, such as the Infinity Gauntlet saga, have explored Thanos' psyche, delving into the complexities of his character, and thereby making readers question the true nature of power, obsession, and morality. And let's be real, what person isn't culturally aware of the mighty snap?
Oh, snap.
Thanos, quite simply, changed the villain game.
Number 4. Magneto.
Whether you're a superhero junkie or not, it's hard to find a person who doesn't know who Magneto is. Everyone does, probably including your grandma. Whether you think he was portrayed better by Gandalf or the robot from Prometheus, Magneto has always been done justice on the big screen. It doesn't matter who plays him, he's always a pure badass.
Perfection.
brought to life in 1963 when the X-Men comics were, pure garbage. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby breathed life into the Master of Magnetism. He began his journey as the ultimate adversary to the X-Men, but he's come a long way since then. In fact, very few villains have evolved as considerably over the next 80 years. He's a Holocaust survivor, having watched his entire life snatched away before his eyes. Magneto witnessed the worst of humanity's capacity for hatred and prejudice. This trauma has shaped Magneto's philosophical views in that a peaceful coexistence between humans and mutants is completely unfeasible. And judging by the revelations shared by Moira McTaggart in the Krakoan Age of Marvel, Magneto was right all along. War between humans and mutants is inevitable. What makes him a great villain goes much deeper than his prescient view of human-mutant relations. He is absolutely not a black and white villain. His traumatic past provides a justifiable rationale for his actions. He watched 6 million people die because they were different, and thus works to protect mutant kind so they don't have to face the same deplorable fate, even if those methods are extreme. This stark contrast between Charles Xavier and his dream of global harmony lends itself to ideological clashes, yet underpinned by a powerful mutual respect. They're brothers in arms, though plagued by drastically different worldviews. He's a representation for civil rights, and although a popular thought, he was not written to represent Malcolm X, but Menachem Begin, an Israeli politician who went from a leader of a terrorist organization to Nobel Prize winner for his contributions to world peace. Whether on the big screen or in comics, Magneto is a powerhouse of a character.
Number 3. Green Goblin.
When most people think of Green Goblin, they probably think of this.
You know how much I sacrificed?
Well, I guess I do too, but that's beside the point. First appearing in The Amazing Spider-Man number 14 in 1964, the Green Goblin has regularly terrorized Peter Parker throughout the course of his life, even going as far as to actually successfully kill one of Peter's loved ones, Gwen Stacy. This was a shocking moment in comic book history, and stories nowadays rarely have the balls to try and emulate that emotion. Under the mask is wealthy businessman Norman Osborn, an industrial tycoon and father to Peter's best friend, Harry Osborn. After ingesting a serum, Norman gains superhuman abilities, but with that comes a price: psychosis and a sadistic personality disorder. Guess he should have read the label first. Green Goblin is both thematically and visually distinctive, owing to his goblin-themed arsenal and purple and green color scheme. But then again, most of Spider-Man's rogues gallery are pretty distinctive. So, let's dive a bit deeper as to why Green Goblin is such a driving force in the world of Marvel Comics. Norman Osborn is deeply complex. He shows a twisted fatherly mentality towards Peter, while ruthlessly targeting just about every person in Spider-Man's life, a theme quite consistent in Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 game. But deep down, Norman, time and time again, fights the effects of the Goblin Serum, trying to reclaim a sense of normalcy and power over his life. This can be seen in the mid-2000s, when Norman sides with Tony during the Civil War and becomes the leader of the Thunderbolts. However, his complex blend of intelligence, ambition, and madness always undermines his efforts to better his life, and the Green Goblin finds its way back again and again. Quite simply, he's a great villain because his motivations extend beyond typical villainy. He's driven by a combination of a desire for power, a need for recognition, and a complicated relationship with his own identity. You know what? That sounds like Willem Dafoe after all.
Number 2. Loki.
Some characters were not always huge stars, typically relegated to the sidelines, allowing other, more complete characters to take center stage. And then, thanks to the ever-exploding growth of the MCU, star power was born. And no villain has quite followed this trajectory to the same degree as Loki. First appearing in 1962 in Journey into Mystery number 85, Loki was introduced as a trickster god who was the adopted brother to the thunder god himself, Thor. And as you can imagine, he was a pretty big pain in the ass right from the get-go. Unlike most of the villains in this list, Loki does not rely on brute strength or technological prowess. He uses wit, cunning, and magical abilities to challenge his foes. His shape-shifting powers and talent for deception make him an unpredictable adversary. He is driven by a deep-seated need for approval and a desire to be Thor's equal or superior, which often manifests in a complex blend of villainy and vulnerability. This nuance is the driving force for Loki's schemes. He's just not as evil as he wants you to believe. He's a tortured soul with quite striking vulnerabilities who likely just wants to feel love and admiration, a jealousy of sorts. His stories often explore themes of identity, destiny, and the struggle for recognition, something most children experience in the shadows of an older sibling. In the MCU, Tom Hiddleston has shown the complexity of this character in all its glorious detail, with Loki evolving from a villainous foe to an anti-hero and finally to an Avenger-worthy hero in his own right. Loki is an amazing villain because he represents the duality we all carry within us. We can be the villain or the hero, depending on the cards we are given. An incredible character all around.
Number 1. Dr. Doom.
Some villains will always get all the praise. We have the Lex Luthors, the Jokers, and the Galactuses of the world. Simply put, some villains will always have a lasting impact. For a character who isn't even in the MCU yet, it's incredible just how popular and respected Dr. Doom is in the comic book world. Often considered one of the greatest written villains of all time, his iconic Darth Vader-esque mask with his unique combination of technology with magic make Doom a standout character in pop culture, even 70 years after his creation. Cartoons, video games, and terrible f***ing movies. Dr. Doom is everywhere. First appearing in Fantastic Four number 5 back in 1962, Victor Von Doom was a tragic character from the get-go. Born to a tribe of Romani people in the European nation of Latveria, Doom lost his parents from a very young age. But this tragedy didn't stop his mind from excelling, allowing his powerful capacity for intelligence to carry him into a lifetime of scientific and magical discovery. He's one of the few villains to perfectly blend technological know-how with the mystical arts, essentially becoming an amalgam of Iron Man and Doctor Strange, a truly terrifying foe. This sets Doom apart from essentially every other Marvel villain. Sure, there's tons of geniuses out there, but absolutely nobody can match the level of genius exhibited by Dr. Doom. And if you don't believe me, go read Jonathan Hickman's Avengers saga, concluding with the 2015 event Secret Wars. We'll see if you disagree then.
Bullshit.
Dr. Doom is layered with complexity. He's not a typical megalomaniac as some would suggest. He firmly believes the world would be better off under his rule. And although he frequents the villainous role, Dr. Doom has time and time again shared center stage with the heroes of the Marvel Universe, even going as far as becoming Iron Man's replacement in 2016, where he was known as the infamous Iron Man. And let's not forget his deep love for Reed Richards' children, who he has shown to be fiercely protective of over the years. He's a monarch with genius-level intellect and a staunch code of honor. He's incredibly intimidating and a threat that no Marvel hero dares to underevaluate. Combine this with his tragic backstory, and you have the single greatest Marvel villain to ever grace the Marvel Universe. Sorry, Thanos, but your time is up.
Now, in the world of comics, we hardly agree with one another. With countless villains out there, you're sure to have a completely different list than I do. How would you rate the top 5 greatest Marvel villains of all time? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. As always, I'm Nashology, and this is A Marvelous Life.